Hi, this is Scotty Sanders coming to you Facebook Live. I've been looking forward to this. This is one I've really given a lot of thought to because I'm sharing some personal stuff related to my wife. I'm going to be talking about lessons I've learned from my wife, specifically things I've learned from her that's really impacted me in my life when it relates to leadership. And I think it's going to be something that all of you will benefit from. And I think it's also one of those things that we can think about. We can learn from everybody. And certainly I learn most from the people closest to me that speak into my life, especially my wife. She's the one, when she says something to me, she's got my full attention. So I said I would share something with you, maybe a trivia question about Cindy. So I'm going to pick on her just a little bit, something that a lot of you may know, but some of you may not. But Cindy was the queen, homecoming queen of her high school. And obviously you can look at her and you can say, yep, I get that. She's very beautiful, which she is. I married way up. But in addition to her being beautiful, she was just a terrific person. And she's the best person I have ever known in my whole life. And she's had more influence on me than anyone else. So, this is a little bit to give her honor because she's been such a great blessing to me. And I'm so grateful that she's my wife. And one of the things I want to ask you to do is, I'm going through this talk tonight. If you're married, I want you to put out there how many years that you've been married. I'd love for you to post that, all right? So post how many years you've been married. By the way, Cindy and I will be celebrating 39 years in March. March 17th will make 39 years. And it's been great. I'm not saying it's been perfect, but it's been great. So let me see what else I want to ask you about. So one of the things that we kind of fell upon last week, which was really neat. When I get talking, and this is live, so this is unedited, and people that know me, he could come up with some really off-the-wall stuff. One of the things I said last week became our #1 quote. My friend Brad Riley picked it up and sent it in to us, and it was me saying, sometimes I need to just shut up. So if you come up with the best quote of the night, I want you to put it out there, and we'll recognize that, and we'll send that out to everybody as our top quote of the night. So a little bit of a recognition on your part if you do that. So I see I got my friend Leroy joining us, Leroy Brinforder. Angela, thanks for joining. My mother-in-law, when your mother-in-law listens in to your Facebook Live, what can you say? My good friend Kevin Lynham, Brad and Brandy, thanks for joining. So I hope you'll jump on in. So let's see what else I want to share with you as we get along here tonight. So list how many years you've been married. No one's put that on there yet. David Shaver, thanks for joining us. Some of you may know that I've been an international leadership consultant for a number of years. I've had the privilege to work with people literally all around the world. I was in Ecuador a few months ago, but I work with organizations in about 50 different countries. Most of my leadership is provided online. So that's one of the ways I deliver that. But this is another way I can deliver content to help people to lead themselves well and to live well. So I want to dive into lessons I've learned from my wife. I've identified 7. And by the way, my son tonight, Jacob Sanders, is serving as my producer. My daughter, Jenny, is a little under the weather. And as we were kind of planning out tonight, and I was talking about the subject matter, he said, Dad, is this going to be like a part 1 of a series of 12 talks that you're going to do? Because I know you've learned a lot from Mom over the years. So I think he was being just a little sarcastic with me about that when he shared that. Obviously, I could write multiple books on the things I've learned, but I've tried to really boil it down to the most salient things that I've learned. 7 things that I think will help you. They have absolutely helped me. So here's the first one. It's this. Be present in the moment. Just like even right now, I want to be present with you. I want to speak as if it's just you and me having a conversation. Being present. And that's something I've struggled with at times. I remember I've had times where I've had multiple people reporting to me, and I'd go from one meeting to the next. And sometimes I couldn't be present with the first person because I was still processing the conversation I had with the person before them. So I'm thinking about, man, that situation or that issue, she's really taught me to see people who they are, get to know them a little bit more, slow down, recognize that people around you, they're everywhere. So notice people, pay attention to people. In fact, I guess it was last week, maybe last Thursday, on the way home, I stopped by Subway, the Subway near our house, and I picked up a couple sandwiches for Cindy and I to have dinner together. And there was a lady there who was waiting on me, and she's waited on me several different times. Very, very sweet. She speaks a little broken English, so she struggles a little bit with that. Her English is better than my Spanish, I'll admit that. But I could tell she seemed just very tired. And I just said, hey, has it been a rough day? And she just began to tell me a little bit about her schedule, what it's like. She said, well, this is my second job. I have another job in school that I work in the cafeteria from 7:30 to 3:30. She goes home for a few minutes to take care of a couple of chores, change, and she gets the subway by 5, and she works to 10:30. And she does that 5 days a week. So that's 75 hours a week. And I said, well, do you get Saturday and Sunday off? She said, well, I actually work at Subway 5 hours a day. So she's working 80 hours a week. And so I said, man, do you have family, or is it just you? She said, well, I have 7 children. So imagine 80 hours a week and taking care of 7 kids. I mean, that seems almost impossible to me. Well, Cindy and I have just made it a priority. She's going to be someone, we're going to figure out how can we help that lady. But I had to notice her, and Cindy's really taught me a lot. So that's the first one. Be present in the moment and notice the people that are around you. And then the second would be look for ways to serve people. So you may notice someone, but then you need to take it a next step to how can you help people? What are some little things that you can do to serve people? It could be simply picking up after someone if they drop something, opening a door for them. I'm in a lot of different meetings. I try to be at meetings early if I can so that I can just meet and greet people and encourage them early on in the conversation. So that's the second thing you can do is just look for ways that you can serve people. The best leaders I know are servant leaders. How can you be a servant leader? So we got Judy Grohl with us. Judy, thanks for joining us. My buddy Joseph, thanks for joining us. I think all the way in India. Holly Boyd, thank you for joining me as well. And I think a few others. By the way, Kevin Liner will be capturing the notes from this. He's our creative director that does a lot of work with me and a lot of our character development resources. So Justin's on the call as well. Justin, thanks for joining me as well. So lessons I've learned. I've talked about 2 of those. My nephew Jess Warden, thanks for joining me. Dana Smith in West Monroe, thank you for joining me. So I've talked about be present, look for ways to serve people. And the third one is know the whole person. That is something I've learned from Cindy. Cindy's not so much interested in what can this person do for me, but I want to know the whole person. What are they interested in? What are their hobbies? What do they enjoy reading? What's their favorite restaurant? And we do a few things to help people. We find out some things that they enjoy or like to eat. We may get them a gift card to that restaurant. Know what their birthday is and special occasions and so forth as well. So that's another one. Know the whole person. And here's something as part of that's been very important for me to get. My buddy Mike Ramsey, thanks for joining Mike. Irene Stanfield in Texarkana. Irene, thanks for joining me as well. Is this, relationships is more important than being right. Relationships is more important than being right. So many times I just want to be right, and Cindy's like, it's more about the relationship. Let's not do anything to damage the relationship. And sometimes you have to let your pride go and let your way of doing things go in order to restore and protect the relationship. The relationship is the most important thing. That goes with your kids or family members or people that you work with. Always try to protect and keep the relationship intact. It doesn't mean you don't have discipline or confrontation, but you do it the right way, and you make sure you because here's the thing I've learned, people are fragile. So you always want to make sure in that relationship that you make sure that's most important. And she's taught me that through the years. So again, we're talking about the lessons I've learned from Cindy over the years that we've been married. And these things have impacted me to help me to be a better leader. And I've tried to incorporate those along the way. So the fourth one is this, is learn to celebrate. Again, I kind of mentioned that earlier, but get to know people, celebrate their birthday, celebrate their anniversary, celebrate special occasions for them. If one of their kids graduate from high school or college, celebrate with them. One of the things I've tried to make it a practice, and some of you have done this for years and years, and that's this. Facebook, that's one of the ways I've got a lot of connections through Facebook all over the place, all over the world, and this is where I can, at least for their birthday, I can recognize them and send them happy birthday wishes, right? Here's a story about Cindy when we were engaged and we're planning our wedding and stuff, and she started thinking about the different people that she wanted to be involved in our wedding. You know, if it's cutting the cake or serving punch. And she said, well, I want to make sure I have this person that's serving cake, and we'd rotate different people in. And this was her thing. I want to do something to show them that I want to honor them. And that was just her. You know, how do we celebrate people? Celebrate who they are, the difference that person's made in your life. And that's been a great thing for me to remember. Find times, look for those opportunities to celebrate. And then the fifth one is this, is laugh at yourself. Laugh at yourself. You know, it's good to be professional. And listen, I want to be professional. I want to prepare. I want to make sure I don't waste time in meetings. But I've learned, and maybe my 4 granddaughters have helped spur that on a little bit. But Cindy's helped me to do that. Just, hey, Scotty, sometimes you're a little too serious. So I shared with you a few weeks ago, she gave me a great tip. She said, you know, when you smile, your looks improve by 50%. So I smile a lot more now than I used to. But when I smile, it makes me more approachable. So, you know, lighten up, make fun a little bit of yourself, and laugh at yourself. You know, at our Christmas at church, I wore a funny sweater, and people got a kick out of that. I laughed at myself about it, right? In fact, at our Christmas party, I wore something like that. If you could see me now, I've got a dress shirt on, but I'm wearing my workout shirts. And Cindy wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you, because if you saw me, you would laugh at me as much as she laughs at me when she sees me do that. But hey, it's part of me being casual and being a little bit laid back, but learn to laugh along the way. And then here's number 6. By the way, I noticed that Wendy Newsom has joined me. Thank you, Wendy. And also Joey Cowan has joined me as well. And I appreciate that. And Kristen, thanks for joining me. And so let's see if we got some others. Angela, okay, I think I've already mentioned her. Travis and Renee, Steve, thanks for joining me. Micah, thanks for joining me as well. So let me get back on track. So I've shared with you 5. The 6th one is this, and this one will need a little explanation. It's this. We all have blind spots. Okay, now what do I mean by blind spots? It means that we normally see here right in front of us, but we have these blind spots around us that we don't see. That's why they're blind spots. If we could see them, they wouldn't be blind spots, right? But we have these blind spots. And my wife has helped me to see blind spots in my life, things that I may not be aware of, right? Now, here's the thing I want to encourage you about this. We all have blind spots, but you want someone in your life that will point them out to you, that cares enough about you to have that conversation, so that, let's just, for instance, if there's a landmine that I'm heading toward and my wife sees it and never points it out to me, I could get my leg blown off and she could say, oh, I saw the landmine. You want someone to point out the blind spots. And so it takes someone that you trust, someone that you care about, to point out the blind spots along the way, versus giving you a history lesson after you've lost a limb in the process. That is of such value along the way. So I noticed we've got Darla Roark that's joined me, and Sean DeHart, thanks for joining me as well. So I'm down to number 7. I'm talking about lessons that I've learned from my wife, lessons that's helped me to lead well. And I take these things that I've learned from Cindy, and I'm getting to teach people all over the world, because I get to do leadership consulting work with people all over the world. So I'm able to multiply that and pour into people all over. So it's been a great joy to do that. But these are things that I've learned from Cindy. I've learned things from my kids as well. And I may share some of those in one of our upcoming. Barry Fox, thanks for joining me. And my buddy Jason Poe as well, thanks for joining me. So number 7 is this: don't procrastinate. Now, guys, we can be guilty about that, especially in home projects. I've got like my world in 2 different departments. I've got my work department where I do not procrastinate. I get it done. But when it comes to home stuff, I'll get to it when I get to it. My wife is the least procrastinating person I have ever met. She's just incredible. She gets it done. She's a get it done now person. She just does it. Now, why do people procrastinate? Typically, it falls into 3 different categories. The first one, by the way, my buddy Paul Storm, Paul and I have been friends, I don't know, 50 years. I'm dating us, aging us, but 50 years. Paul, thanks for joining me. We usually procrastinate for 3 reasons. One, it's something we just don't want to do. We don't want to do it, so we put it off, right? That's what we do. So what you need to do to mitigate that, you plan and you start. You plan and you start. If it's something, I don't want to do it, you plan and you start. By the way, my wife's learned to write me a lot of sticky notes around the house. This little home job you need to do, and she'll make me a note, and that's what I said, just write me a note and I'll get to it. The second reason we procrastinate a lot is because of perfectionism. We want everything to be perfect. We want everything lined up just right. Over the last 10 years, Cindy and I have written 6 books together. None of them are perfect. If we waited for them to be perfect, we would have never put a book out there. It just wouldn't have happened. You never get things perfect. You want to make them as good as you can. You want to get it out there as quick as you can, but you want it to be quality. You want it to be excellent. But listen, you wait till everything's perfect. You'll never ship anything in life. You'll never write a book. You'll never do anything. And that's the second reason. The third reason is we've got too much going on. We're so busy with things. And what I would say to you, figure out things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing anymore, or you can delegate some things. So you may need to prioritize on what you need to be done. If you do that, that's going to help you to be less of a procrastinator. But that's a big one that I've learned from Cindy. She's phenomenal about getting things done. It's incredible the things that she can get done. So those are 7 lessons I've learned from Cindy, and that has helped me over the years to lead well. So this is what I want to ask you to do. One, and by the way, I'm going to read off a few questions. If you've got questions, you can submit those in. Just put them in the comments, and I'll go back and answer those later. But I'm going to read you 3 questions I received in advance. But what I want you to do, if you feel like this has helped you, sharing these 5 lessons I've learned from Cindy, would you just put in the comments yes? And that way I know that that's helped you. And if you really feel like it's benefited you and you really have a desire to help other people to grow and to lead themselves better, I want you to share this. If you have a heart, you feel like, man, this helped me, I think it can help someone else, I want you to share it, because you've got a group of people out there. It could be thousands of people I may never have a contact with, but this is a way that you can help others. I'm always sending people resources. Always I'm doing that because I want to help people to grow in their leadership. How do they lead themselves well and how they can lead others well. So I want you to do that, all right? And then also, before I forget about it, one of my team members will put a link to my new Scotty Sanders business Facebook page. And within the next few weeks, I'll be moving my Facebook Live to that page, because there are several things that we can do on a business page that I can't do on my personal page. And I've got thousands of other people through another work thing that I do that I'm going to invite there, that they'll be coming. These are people all over the world that I have some leadership development stuff I do. I'm unable to invite them because these are just the people that usually participate in this are people that I know that are friends of mine. So I want you to know about that. So we'll put a link out there, and then I want you to, if you would, just join my business Facebook page. Okay, so here are 3 questions I have, and let me see what the first one is. What do you do to bring yourself back in moments when you realize you need to be present, but instead you're thinking about something else that maybe doesn't matter right now or possibly will never happen? So again, the big thing there is you really have to force yourself to focus in on that person. Good eye contact, paying attention, really listening with your heart along the way. And it requires concentration. It really does. It requires you to really concentrate and really focusing on that person. By you listening well and being present in that moment, you're really serving them, is the way you can do it. John Antley, thanks for joining me as well. Here's another question. For some people, opening up, being present, and not taking themselves too seriously is way out of their comfort zone. If this is out of your comfort zone, what is something actionable, small, that someone can do to start themselves on a path to being engaged with those around them? That's a long question, I know. And making them real, meaningful connection. Where could someone start to build their confidence and open up? Okay, I don't have a 1, 2, 3 here, but I think it starts with just how you go into those of, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't be so concerned about what everybody else thinks. A lot of times we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. We don't want to loosen up because we're afraid what people may think. And you got to get over that. That's usually a pride issue or your ego, or you're not willing to be vulnerable. So you need to open up, learn to laugh at yourself, tell some things you messed up on. I let people all the time say, listen, I'm not really good at this, and I want you to know that I know I'm not good at doing that. Because I'm being real with them. Just be real in that moment, lighten up. So that's the second one. By the way, I see that Mike Murray, Cheryl have joined in. Barry Bell, thank you guys and gals for joining in as well. It's good to see your names come across the screen. Again, if this has helped you, I want you to put yes. If this is something you feel like can benefit others, I want you to share it with some other people. By you sharing this, you are helping other people. I really believe that. I wouldn't take the time to do this if I didn't think it could add some value to you and the people you have influence with. So here's the third question. How do you know your blind spots, and what do you do about them? And it's kind of an interesting question, because you don't know your blind spots unless you have someone to point your blind. The whole thing about a blind spot is you don't know it's a blind spot, right? It's a blind spot until someone points it out. And you have to be humble enough, and you have to be willing to hear feedback so that those blind spots don't cost you down the road. Okay? Listen, we all have blind spots, but I'd much rather know what the blind spot is than be blindsided by it. I remember a quote. We're kind of in football season. Super Bowl's coming up, and I remember hearing Steve Young, famous quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And by the way, I did not like the 49ers because they were the nemesis to the Saints years gone by. But someone asked him in an interview, said, Steve, which guy sacks the hardest out of any players you've ever played? And he said this, the one I didn't see coming. And that's a lot of truth. It's the one that we don't see coming, the blind spot, that hurts us the worst. So let people speak into you, especially the people that are closest to you. My wife, she has total permission to speak into me. One, because I trust her completely. Two, she's incredibly wise. Number three, she cares about me. And she's out for my good. So you need to have those people around you that can speak into your life. So those are my three questions. Let me see if I've got a couple other things I want to mention to you. Again, if you have a question, put the question in the comments and I'll go back and answer those. If this has helped you, I want you to put yes, just so I know this is something I need to continue to do. If you feel like this has helped you and you want it to help someone else, I want you to share it. And then we'll be putting a link to my business Facebook page where we'll be updating you with additional information. I have blog posts there, other quotes and stuff I put there. So I think it'd be some good leadership stuff you'll get there generally. But in a few weeks, we'll be transitioning from my personal Facebook page into my business Facebook page for my Facebook Live. So I want you to know about that. So I think that's all of my instructions. Listen, thank you again for joining me. Again, this is Scotty Sanders. This is a joy for me to do this. I get to live out my purpose, which is this: to encourage and empower others, that's you, to live, lead, and finish well. And I hope this Facebook Live event has helped you to live, lead, and to finish well. So until next time, we'll check you out. Follow us next Monday night. I've got a new topic. I think it's going to be called Less is More. You don't want to miss it. It will make a big difference in your life as well. So until next week, take care.